Hello, so previously I did a video that was simplifying the idea of a smart elevator where on the first floor, the ground floor, you could come up to a book and you could pick which level you wanted to go to and then essentially go to that level. However, since then I realized that we can actually do a lot better than that, so we've gotten complicated again. So we can pick whichever level we want and call the elevator. When we hear the bing, we can then go to that floor. We're now on the third floor. The downwards tone means that the elevator is reset to the ground floor. So we're back on the ground floor. So we want the fourth floor this time. No, I didn't do the call button. There we go, now we're going to the fourth floor. We go to the fifth floor. Or we might go back to the second floor. Oops, downwards elevator, my bad. So you do have to remember which way you're going. So 2 is down, so I have to take the first one. Now on the second floor. And we'll wait for it to reset and go back to ground. So how does this all work? Well, let's switch over to creative mode. So it's very similar to my last video. We've just taken advantage of the fact that we can take a variable length signal and move it about. So we'll go up to the top floor and have a look what's happening. So on the top floor we have the lectern, which we're running a comparator against, and a signal selector. So we go to the other side. You can see that when we press the button, it runs this fade signal and holds that on for a certain period of time. When it's on, it's holding off the torch. The torch, in turn, is running into the side of this comparator, which prevents it from sending a signal. So the lectern can only send a signal while the button is pressed. So it's sending a signal now, and when the time runs out, it'll stop sending the signal. So when it's sending a signal, it sends it down this comparator ladder, which maintains the signal strength and takes inputs in for every level. So any level can trigger this. Now obviously it takes longer to get the signal from the top level to the bottom level, but any level can signal with this. So any level that's triggered on, whichever the strongest signal is from any level that's triggered, will set the elevator. So this is basically just running the signal downwards until we get to about here, and then across. The next step is to let the elevator know that the signal has reached the bottom. So we've got a torch tower, and on each level we've got note blocks, and we've just picked a different tone for each alternate note block. So when this torch turns on, it'll trigger this note block, and every second one going up. And then when the signal resets, it'll change which note blocks it's doing. So whatever floor we're on, we will hear a do 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 or do 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 do, depending on whether the elevator is set or reset. After that, we feed the signal into a circuit that takes the strength signal and turns it into a digital signal. So we go over here and we pick floor 3 and we set that. You'll see torch 3 line changes. And we can do the same for line 1, which we'll do next. So this is going to call for line 1. That's called for line 1. So just to move around this so you can see that it's just 2 lines of redstone here. And the reason is we want the line on this section to be 1 weaker than that section. This will have the same strength as this line here. So essentially when we turn it on, and I'll just trigger it again to show this on page 2, you can see one comparators on there, 1 repeater's on there, but 2 repeaters are on here, which means this runs both these sets of torches. So this is sort of like an AND gate, so it's only on if both that torch is held off and that torch is held off, which will only happen for one of these torches. And then it's just a torch tower up. So we're now sending that digital signal up, so whichever floor we're on gets a signal. We then just follow this signal along. We come over here. So what we have is an observer watching a repeater signal. So no matter how short this pulse is, this 4-tick repeater will make sure that the pulse is extended to at least 4 ticks. It will also delay it, but the main reason this is here is to extend it, because if we get too many short tickets through, we can muck with our pistons and observers. So this is critical. We need a 4-tick repeater here. The signal comes in here. This observer sees the signal turn on and triggers this block here, and this block here happens to also be next to a dispenser here, but also a dispenser, so if I come around it'll be easier to show. So on each floor there's a dispenser behind the yellow brick and here, so a dispenser there and there. We have a dispenser here and a dispenser behind the yellow brick there. This dispenser will push a water source block using a bucket that way on an off tick, and this way on an on tick. So when that turns on, that pulses. This will use an empty bucket to take away a water source block. When that turns off, this pulses again, and that'll put a water source block back in. And a similar thing is happening over here, except we also have a sticky piston. So when this turns on, that target block gains power. It turns off, holds for another 4 ticks, and then loses power. Now the reason we do that is because we need to make sure that the slab is there before this fires. So if this turns on, that piston will push the slab in before the dispenser that's powered by this can put the water there. So the slab comes out, water comes on. When this drops, this observer notices that downwards one first, so pulls the water away, and then very slightly after that, the piston will pull the slab away. And that's it. That's all the circuits that are involved. We have sticky pistons on each floor, quite a few observers, but it's really not very expensive redstone. You should be able to make this up to 16 floors. Yeah, I think 16 floors, might be 15. It depends on how long you can make this thing and how many signals you can do up. Obviously, the higher the floor is, the longer the core signal takes. So when we press this button, it's quite a while before we get the signal. But the closer we are to this unit here, the sooner we get the signal. And that's why we have the note blocks. Without the note blocks, you wouldn't really know when the elevator is ready. And there you go. This works best with floors that are 4 apart, or multiples of 4 apart. So if you wanted to skip a floor, all you have to do is just have the torch tower for that floor go up another 4 squares. If you're willing to take the space, you should be able to do this as something other than multiples of 4. It's just a matter of making sure that everything lines up. At 4 blocks, it lines up quite nicely because everything squeezes in. We can see that the signal strength holder fits nicely between the 2 floors that are managing the water, and it just all fits. And that's it. I won't be doing a tutorial for this one. I'm just showing off the redstone. I do intend to use this in my survival world, and thank you for Iscal85 for the inspiration on making a smart elevator. Thank you very much.